Hi, my name is Chris Migliaccio, and I wanted to make a quick video today on Chapter 13 and the process. So I know that when you make the decision to file Chapter 13 bankruptcy, it can be a bit overwhelming. So the purpose of this video is to shed light on how the process works, kind of give you a general idea before you get into a Chapter 13 of what to expect, what your responsibilities will be, and what your lawyer will do for you along the way. So after you, first of all, I recommend that you always visit with an attorney before you decide to file bankruptcy. So let's just assume for the purpose of this video that you've made the decision after consulting with a bankruptcy attorney that you're going to file Chapter 13. So you retain the law firm, and basically the first thing you're going to end up doing if you retained a firm like myself and my team is you're going to get us all the documents we need. That's going to be the first big step. We call this in our office the document collection stage. So what we do is we have like an online portal that we set up that outlines all the information we need from you. We're going to need like your pay stubs. We're going to need tax returns. We're going to need bank records. We're going to need a list of all your assets, all your creditors, and a lot of other information. So we have it all outlined in our portal. And most lawyers will have something similar or just have like a packet that you have to fill out. But it's very important that in this first step that you get your attorney all the information they need. Because if you don't, and you take any shortcuts along the way in getting them their documents, that's only going to hurt you in the long run. I've seen it happen before, and unfortunately, this is not something that you can rush and do. You want to make sure you do it right. So that's the first big step. And really, that for our clients, that's one of the biggest contributions they are going to make in their bankruptcy case, is getting us all the information. So after you get us your documents and everything we need, we then take that information and we move on to the drafting stage. In the drafting stage, that's where we're going to take the information and we're going to draft all of your bankruptcy schedules, petitions, all the bankruptcy documents that we're going to eventually file with the court. We're going to use those documents you provided, the pay stubs, the bank records, tax returns. We're going to use all of that to draft these papers. This is going to be a document that's going to be probably between 50 pages or maybe even more than 100, depending on how complex your estate is. So that is going to be our second stage, is the drafting stage. Once we have the draft done, we then will send it to you for review and then have you come in, or we'll visit with you over Zoom or Skype. We can do it virtual, but we have to make sure we see you sign the documents. And this stage is called, or this step is called the signing stage. That's where we visit. And it's awesome right now because we can use technology like we're doing today, and we can actually do it online where we see each other face to face, and we can watch you sign it from home, all the documents. But during this meeting, before you sign anything, what we do is we go over the documents and we make sure everything's true and correct. We make sure that we listed all of your creditors, everyone you owe money to in the entire world. We make sure we list all of your assets, all the assets that you own in the entire world. And we also make sure you list all your income from all sources. Your income, your spouse's income, anyone who contributes to your household, we have to disclose. So that's the purpose of this meeting, is to make sure all the paperwork and all the drafting documents that we put together are true and accurate. Then we also want to go over any questions you have on your paperwork. It's very important to be successful in Chapter 13 that you have a good understanding of what you're doing, what you're disclosing, what the process is. So our firm's a believer in making sure you're involved in this process and that you understand everything. So that's a big part of this meeting too. And then once everything's confirmed, everything's true and correct, we have you sign each page as a formality to make sure we have it documented, you signed, and then we can provide that to the bankruptcy court. So that's the drafting stage. Then after that, we're going to get to the filing stage. Now, that basically means what it sounds like. It's going to be when we file your case. Sometimes that will be the day after we do the signing. Sometimes that will be a week later. It gets determined as as part of our strategy. But once your case is filed, an automatic stay will be put in place. And that's really awesome because that stops all creditors from being able to harass you, take your car, take your house. It's a very powerful tool that bankruptcy provides. And then after you file, there's several things that are going to happen. About 30 to 50 days after you file, you're going to get scheduled to go down to a 341 meeting. Now, what's a 341 meeting? A 341 meeting is where we go down, you'll go with your attorney, and we meet with the bankruptcy trustee and we review all the documents that you filed with the court. Now, by this time, our clients have reviewed those documents a few times with us already and on their own, so they're very well prepared. And going back to the original stage of doc collection, this is why that stage is so important. If you don't provide the documents in the beginning of the case, then the attorney cannot do your draft correctly. And then when you go to the 341 meeting, the bankruptcy trustee who reviews the documents is likely to find some kind of issue that needs to be corrected and could compromise the case. So that's why it's so important from the first step that you disclose everything, you get us all the documents. Other than that, as long as you've done everything according to the plan, that 341 meeting should be very straightforward and routine. So it's about a 30-minute meeting once it starts, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more, depending on your situation. But that's the purpose of that meeting, is it allows the bankruptcy court to review all the documents through their, along with the trustee and any creditors that may want to come to that meeting. Another thing that happens after you file your case is in a Chapter 13, you're going to have to make your first payment. That payment's generally due 30 days after you file. So if you file your bankruptcy case on September 15th, you can expect that you're going to have to make your first payment by October 15th. So that is a very important deadline, because if you don't make your payment in a Chapter 13, your case could get dismissed, and actually will get dismissed if you don't make a payment. So you want to make sure that you make that payment and make that payment timely. Now, how long will a Chapter 13 take? It's going to take about 3 to 5 years. One thing to know about a Chapter 13, though, is it's a reorganization, okay? When you file a Chapter 13, you're typically wanting to get relief. And so you're going to be expected to pay what you can afford to pay back each month to the bankruptcy trustee, who will then pay it to your creditors. In exchange for that, you're going to get the protection of the bankruptcy court through the automatic stay that we talked about earlier. And you're just going to get some stability in your life. You're going to have less stress. You're just going to have a plan. So just know that. And then it's not like you're signing a 5-year contract like you bought a car. The cool thing about a Chapter 13 is it's flexible. And what I mean by that is it changes along with you. So let's say when you file a Chapter 13, you can afford a certain payment based on your income at your job. Let's say that payment's $500 a month. And let's say you lose your job, or let's say your income goes down significantly. Well, we can reassess your income and see what you can afford at that point in time, and then we can recommend, or what we do is we file a modification with the court to ask to lower that payment. So it's not like you're committing to it for 5 years to be that amount. What you're committing to when you file a Chapter 13 is simply, I will pay back what I can afford to pay back over the next 3 to 5 years. So that's the important part with a Chapter 13. When you go to buy a car and you agree to pay $500 a month, whether you may be able to afford it today, but if you lose your job in 2 years, you may not be able to afford to pay it then. They don't care. That's the contract. But a Chapter 13 is different than that. So just know that. So that's how long the Chapter 13 will typically take. Going back to the filing of the case. So you file the case, you've got your 341 meeting about 30 to 50 days later. You get your first payment due about exactly 30 days after you file. And then finally, what else will happen, like court-wise? Well, after the 341 meeting, your attorney will typically work towards getting your plan, that whatever you're paying in the Chapter 13, they'll work towards getting it confirmed and approved by the court. Often that means you don't have to do anything other than make sure you get the documents that might be asked for later on to your attorney. You make your Chapter 13 payment, and you just communicate with your bankruptcy attorney along the way. If you do that, you may not have to do anything for confirmation, and your attorney can get your plan confirmed. And then after that, you just keep making your payment every 30 days. If something changes in your life, you call your attorney and say something changed, and then we talk about whether we need to file a modification of your plan or not. But other than that, you just make your payment every month, and you move forward with your life, and you have stability. So that's how a Chapter 13 process works. I definitely recommend before you file that you talk to an attorney. And of course, if you have any questions, you know where to find us, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.
Is your debt taking over your life? It's time to take the next step and learn more about how bankruptcy could change your life. Call our office today and schedule a consultation.